Hello, if you want to watch exclusive lemon content on What If Naruto, then go to my Boosty. The first link in the description here contains such hot stories for adults, such as What If Naruto was a daddy for Sarada, or Kushina and Mikoto vulgar Naruto mommies. Follow the link and enjoy. I'm waiting for you.
Carved in stone. His fingers traced his mother's name, Kushina Uzumaki, a woman he'd never known except through stories and the fading memories of those who'd loved her. I wonder what you think of me now, he whispered to the cold granite. I'm not the failure I used to be, but I'm not sure I'm the hero everyone thinks I am either. The wind picked up, unusually warm for late autumn, carrying with it a scent Naruto couldn't quite place. Something like lightning and flowers mixed together. The hairs on the back of his neck stood up, and his hand instinctively went to a kunai. Years of ninja training had taught him to trust his instincts, and right now every instinct screamed that something impossible was about to happen. The air itself seemed to shimmer, rippling like water disturbed by an unseen stone. Naruto leaped back, chakra already flowing to his feet as he prepared for an attack. But what emerged from the distortion wasn't an enemy. It was a woman. She stepped through the air as if passing through a doorway, and the sight of her drove the breath from Naruto's lungs. Long red hair cascaded down her back in waves that seemed to move with their own inner light. Her eyes were violet, warm and fierce at once, and when they fell upon Naruto, they filled with tears that sparkled like diamonds in the moonlight. She wore robes unlike anything Naruto had seen, white and flowing, trimmed with gold that seemed to pulse with an energy that made chakra look crude by comparison. Around her neck hung a symbol he didn't recognize, a circle with a cross beneath it, glowing with soft blue light. But it was her presence that truly stunned him. She radiated power, not the violent, overwhelming force of a tailed beast, but something refined, absolute, and utterly calm. And Naruto, she breathed, and her voice cracked with emotion. Look how much you've grown. Naruto's kunai clattered to the ground. His mind refused to accept what his heart already knew. That voice, but it's impossible. You're dead? The woman smiled through her tears. I was. But death isn't always the end, my son. The world seemed to tilt sideways. Naruto staggered, catching himself against the memorial stone. Kushina. Mom? She moved then, faster than Naruto's eyes could track, faster than anything he'd ever seen, including his father's legendary speed. One moment she stood 10 feet away. The next, her arms were around him, and Naruto smelled that scent again, stronger now. It was the smell of home, of safety, of everything he'd been denied his entire life. I'm sorry, Kushina whispered into his hair. I'm so sorry I couldn't be there for you. That you had to grow up alone, hated and afraid. If I could change it, how? Naruto pulled back, his face wet with tears he didn't remember shedding. How are you here? Is this a jutsu? A trick? Because if this is some kind of genjutsu, I swear, it's real, Naruto. I'm real. Kushina cupped his face in her hands, and Naruto felt warmth radiating from her palms, a warmth that had nothing to do with chakra. After I died, after the Nine Tails was sealed, I found myself in a place beyond this world. A place where beings of immense power trained to serve as attendants to the gods themselves. Naruto blinked, trying to process words that made no sense. Gods? Like actual gods? Yes. The multiverse is far larger and stranger than even the Sage of Six Paths knew. Kushina stepped back, and as she did, her power flared, just for an instant, and Naruto felt himself pressed down by a weight that had nothing to do with gravity. It was like standing beneath the ocean, or at the center of a star. Then it was gone, and Kushina looked apologetic. Sorry, I'm still learning to control it around mortals. That was divine ki, the energy that angels and gods of destruction wield. Angels? Naruto sat down hard on the grass, his legs suddenly unable to support him. Mom, you're going to have to start from the beginning because I have no idea what you're talking about. Kushina laughed, and the sound was pure joy. She sat beside him, crossing her legs in a manner that was utterly unangel-like. When I died protecting you and sealing the Nine Tails, my soul should have passed on to the Pure Land. But something different happened. A being called the Grand Priest, the father of all angels, the attendant to the Omni King who rules all universes, he sensed something in my soul. The same fierce will that let me contain the Nine Tails, the same stubborn refusal to give up that I see in your eyes right now. She reached out and brushed a strand of blonde hair from Naruto's forehead. He offered me a choice, pass on peacefully, or train to become an angel. It would mean giving up my place in the Pure Land, never truly resting, but it would also mean gaining power to protect the universes and, eventually, the chance to see you again. You chose me, Naruto whispered. I'll always choose you. Kushina's smile was radiant. I've spent 17 years training Naruto, learning to control divine ki, mastering techniques that make even the strongest jutsu look like academy tricks. And now, finally, I've earned the right to return temporarily, and to share what I've learned with someone worthy. Naruto's mind was reeling. He'd faced so much in his young life: Bijou, missing Nin, even gods of the ninja world like Madara Uchiha. But this was beyond anything he'd imagined. Why me? Why now? Kushina's expression grew serious. Because I've seen the future, Naruto, many possible futures. Dark times are coming, threats that will make the Fourth Shinobi War look like a skirmish. Enemies from beyond this world, beings with power that chakra alone cannot match. She stood, offering him her hand. But I've also seen what you could become with the right training. Do you know what Ultra Instinct is? Naruto shook his head, taking her hand and rising to his feet. It's the ultimate technique. The pinnacle of martial arts that even gods struggle to master. It allows the body to move and react independently of thought, to dodge and counter without the delay of conscious decision-making. Your body becomes an instrument of perfect movement, responding to danger before your mind even registers it exists. Naruto's eyes widened. That sounds impossible. It is impossible for most mortals. Even among angels, few ever perfect it. Kushina's eyes gleamed with fierce pride. But you're not most mortals, Naruto. You're my son. You have Uzumaki chakra flowing through your veins, chakra that's surprisingly similar to divine ki in its fundamental nature. You have the nine tails sealed within you, giving you reserves of power that dwarf normal humans. And most importantly, you have something that can't be taught, an unbreakable will. She began to walk, gesturing for Naruto to follow. They moved through the village, and Naruto noticed that no one seemed to see them. A and B guards looked right through them, and even the Hyuga on watch duty showed no reaction. I've placed us slightly out of phase with this dimension, Kushina explained. We can observe, but we cannot be observed. We'll need privacy for what comes next. They walked for 20 minutes until they reached the Forest of Death, the training ground that had terrified Naruto during the Chunin exams years ago. Now, it just looked like a forest. Kushina led him to a clearing and turned to face him. Naruto, if you accept my training, your life will change in ways you cannot imagine. Ultra Instinct is not just a technique. It's a state of being that requires you to remake yourself from the inside out. You'll have to let go of hesitation, of fear, of conscious thought in battle. You'll have to trust your body completely. And that means confronting every doubt, every insecurity you've ever had. Naruto thought of Sasuke, still out there somewhere, walking a dark path. He thought of the Akatsuki, and their plans for the tailed beasts. He thought of all the people he'd failed to save, all the times his power hadn't been enough. I'll do it, he said without hesitation. Whatever it takes, however hard it is, I'll master this Ultra Instinct. I have to get stronger. I have to protect everyone. Kushina's smile was bittersweet. You sound just like your father. Always carrying the weight of the world. She stepped closer, placing her hand over his heart. But Naruto, you must understand, Ultra Instinct isn't about conscious strength or willpower. It's about letting go. The more you try to control it, the further it slips away. That doesn't make sense. It will. Eventually. Kushina stepped back and raised her hand. The air around her began to shimmer, and Naruto felt that immense pressure again. But this time it kept building, growing stronger until he dropped to one knee, gasping for breath. This is 1% of my power, Naruto. Just 1%. Can you feel the difference between this and chakra? Naruto nodded, unable to speak. Chakra felt hot, active, like fire in his veins. This divine ki was different, cold and perfect, like looking into the infinite depths of space. The pressure vanished, and Naruto sucked in air gratefully. Kushina knelt beside him. The first step of learning Ultra Instinct is understanding that your current way of fighting, relying on chakra, on conscious technique, on thinking through your moves, has a ceiling. No matter how much chakra you have, no matter how many jutsu you learn, there's a limit to how fast thought can travel from brain to body. She held up a finger, and a small sphere of silver light formed above it. Watch closely. The sphere zipped forward, and Naruto moved without thinking, his hand coming up to catch it. But the sphere changed direction mid-flight, slipping past his guard and tapping his forehead gently before dissolving. You reacted based on prediction, Kushina explained. You saw the sphere coming, your brain calculated its trajectory, and you moved to intercept. That process took approximately 0.2 seconds. Against normal opponents, that's fine. Against someone using Ultra Instinct, you'd be dead before your brain finished processing the threat. Naruto rubbed his forehead. So how do I get faster than thought? You don't get faster than thought. You eliminate thought from the equation entirely. Kushina stood and gestured to the forest around them. Close your eyes. Naruto obeyed, and immediately his other senses sharpened. He heard the rustle of leaves, the distant call of night birds, the whisper of wind through grass. Now empty your mind, Kushina instructed. Don't think about what you hear, don't analyze it, don't try to understand it. Just be. Let the sounds wash over you without judgment. It was harder than it sounded. Naruto's mind wanted to categorize every noise, to assess for threats, to maintain awareness. But gradually, with his mother's soft voice guiding him, he felt something shift. The sounds became less distinct, blending into a kind of ambient awareness. He wasn't tracking individual noises anymore. He was simply present within the environment. Good, Kushina whispered. Now keep your eyes closed and dodge. Naruto heard something whistle through the air, fast, and his body jerked sideways. He felt the wind of something passing where his head had been a fraction of a second earlier. You thought that time, Kushina said. You heard the sound, processed it, and dodged. Try again. Another whistle. This time Naruto tried not to think, just to react, but he was too slow. Something smooth and round bounced off his shoulder. You're still thinking, Kushina said patiently. You're trying to not think, which is itself a form of thought. Again, they continued for what felt like hours. Kushina threw small spheres of ki at him from different angles, at different speeds, and each time Naruto failed to dodge without thinking. He'd either analyze and move too slowly, or he tried to force his body to react and end up frozen with indecision. Finally, exhausted and frustrated, Naruto sat down hard on the ground. This is impossible. How am I supposed to move without thinking about moving? Kushina sat beside him, and for a moment she just looked up at the stars. When you were a baby, before you could walk or talk, I used to watch you play with your toys. You never thought about reaching for them. You just reached. Your body knew what to do without your mind interfering. Ultra Instinct is about rediscovering that state, that purity of action. But I'm not a baby anymore. No, you're not. You're a shinobi who's spent years training your body to obey your mind. Now you have to retrain both body and mind to work independently. She stood and offered him her hand again. It will take time, Naruto. Months, maybe years. But I believe in you. Do you believe in yourself? Naruto took her hand, pulling himself to his feet. Despite the frustration, despite the impossibility of what she was asking, he felt something kindle in his chest. Hope, mixed with determination. I believe that with you here to teach me, I can do anything. Kushina pulled him into another hug, and this time Naruto didn't hesitate to hug her back. They stood there in the clearing, mother and son reunited by forces either truly understood, bound by love that had survived death itself. We'll start again tomorrow night, Kushina said softly. For now, go home and rest. Your body will need sleep to process what little progress you made tonight. Little progress? Naruto pulled back, grinning. I didn't dodge a single one. No, but by the end, you were thinking less before getting hit. That's progress. She ruffled his hair in a gesture so maternal, so casual, that Naruto felt his throat tighten with emotion. I'm proud of you, Naruto. Not for what you might become, but for what you are right now. Never forget that. As Kushina began to fade, the air shimmering around her once more, Naruto called out, Wait. Will I see you again? This isn't just a dream, right? Kushina's smile was radiant as she faded from view. Every night, Naruto. For as long as it takes. I promise. And then she was gone, leaving only the scent of lightning and flowers, and a warmth in Naruto's heart he'd never known before. As he walked back to his apartment through the sleeping village, Naruto looked down at his hands. They seemed the same, but he felt different somehow, as if his mother's presence had awakened something deep inside him, some potential that had always been there, waiting. Ultra Instinct. The technique that even gods struggled to master. Naruto grinned into the darkness. If anyone had told him this morning that his dead mother would return as an angel to teach him divine techniques, he would have laughed. But now, having held her, having felt the impossible power she wielded with such grace, he knew that his world had just become infinitely larger, and infinitely more dangerous. The question was, could he rise to meet it? As he climbed into bed, exhausted but too excited to sleep, Naruto made himself a promise. He would master Ultra Instinct, no matter how long it took or how hard it became. Not just to protect the village, not just to save Sasuke, but to make his mother proud, to prove that her sacrifice, her choice to become an angel instead of resting peacefully, hadn't been in vain. Outside his window, unseen by mortal eyes, Kushina Uzumaki watched her son drift off to sleep. Tears rolled down her cheeks as she smiled. "Sleep well, Naruto," she whispered to the night. "Tomorrow, your true journey begins." The moon continued its journey across the sky, and in the forest of death, the grass where they trained still glowed with faint silver light, the residue of divine ki slowly fading back into the natural world. The age of shinobi was ending, the age of gods was about to begin, and Naruto Uzumaki would stand at the center of it all. Naruto woke to sunlight streaming through his window, and the absolute certainty that last night had been real. His body ached in strange places, not the familiar burn of overworked muscles, but something deeper, as if his very cells had been pushed beyond their normal limits. He sat up slowly, flexing his fingers and feeling an odd awareness of his own movements that hadn't been there before. "Morning already?" he groaned, stumbling toward the bathroom. His reflection in the mirror looked the same, messy blonde hair, blue eyes still heavy with sleep, whisker marks on his cheeks. But when he looked closer, really looked, he could swear there was something different in his eyes. A depth that hadn't been there yesterday. "Kit, we need to talk." Naruto jumped, nearly hitting his head on the bathroom cabinet. The Nine-Tails voice rumbled through his mind with unusual urgency. Normally Kurama only spoke up during battle or when extremely bored. To initiate conversation like this was unprecedented. "Kurama? What's wrong? What's wrong? What's wrong? You spend half the night channeling energy that makes my chakra look like a candle next to the sun, and you ask what's wrong?" Despite the harsh words, Naruto detected something else in the fox's tone. Curiosity. Maybe even excitement? Naruto quickly entered his mindscape, appearing in the familiar sewer before Kurama's massive cage. The fox's 9 tails swished with agitation, and his crimson eyes were fixed on Naruto with an intensity that was almost unsettling. "You felt it?" Naruto asked. "The divine ki? Felt it?" "Boy, I didn't just feel it, I absorbed some of it." Kurama leaned closer to the bars, and Naruto noticed something strange. The fox's fur seemed to shimmer slightly, as if lit from within by silver light. "That woman last night, the angel. That was your mother, wasn't it?" "Yeah." Naruto couldn't help but smile. "She came back to teach me something called Ultra Instinct." "Ultra Instinct," Kurama repeated, and the fox's expression became thoughtful. "I've lived for thousands of years, seen the rise and fall of civilizations, witnessed the power of the Sage of Six Paths himself. But this is something beyond anything in this world's history." "What do you mean?" Kurama settled down on his haunches, his tails coiling around him. "The energy your mother wields, divine ki, it's fundamentally different from chakra. Chakra is the combination of physical and spiritual energy, originated by the god tree and refined by the sage. It's powerful, but it's still mortal in nature. Divine ki it's the raw essence of creation itself. Pure, refined, absolute." Naruto sat down cross-legged, sensing this was going to be a long conversation. "So what does that mean for me?" "It means, Kit, that you're attempting something that shouldn't be possible. Mortals aren't meant to wield divine energy. Their bodies can't handle it, their minds can't comprehend it. But you, Kurama's eyes gleamed. You have me. My chakra has been mixing with yours since you were born. It's changed you on a cellular level, made you more than human, and the Uzumaki bloodline your mother gave you, that life force, that vitality, it's closer to divine energy than normal human chakra. Are you saying I can actually learn this? I'm saying you're one of the few mortals who might survive trying. Kurama's tone became serious. But make no mistake, Naruto. This training will push you beyond anything you've experienced. Your body will break down and rebuild itself. Your mind will be forced to operate in ways that contradict everything you've learned. And there's no guarantee of success. Naruto stood, clenching his fists with determination. When has that ever stopped me? Never, Kurama admitted, and there was pride in his voice. Which is why I'm going to help you. Really? Naruto's eyes widened. Don't sound so surprised. If you're going to be channeling divine energy through our shared chakra system, I need to make sure it doesn't kill both of us. Kurama paused. Besides, I'm curious. In all my long existence, I've never seen a mortal attempt to bridge the gap between human and divine. If anyone can do it, it's probably the idiot who befriended a demon fox. Naruto grinned. Thanks, Kurama. I think, when he emerged from the mindscape, Naruto found Kakashi-sensei sitting on his windowsill, reading his orange book with infuriating casualness. You know, most people use doors, Naruto said, pulling on his jacket. Most people don't sleep until noon, Kakashi replied without looking up. You missed training this morning. Sakura was worried. Naruto glanced at the clock and winced. 12:47 p.m. He'd slept for nearly 12 hours. Sorry, sensei. I was up late and training in the forest of death? Kakashi closed his book, and his visible eye was sharp. The ANBU reported unusual energy signatures there last night. Want to tell me what you were doing? Naruto's mind raced. How much should he reveal? His mother had said nothing about keeping Ultra Instinct secret, but something told him that casually mentioning angels and divine ki might not go over well. Just trying a new training method, he said carefully. Nothing dangerous. Kakashi studied him for a long moment. Naruto, I've known you long enough to tell when you're hiding something, and whatever that new training method was, it left traces of energy that even Sharingan users can't identify. So I'll ask again, what were you doing? Before Naruto could answer, the air shimmered, and Kushina stepped through, fully visible, her angel robes radiating soft light. Kakashi's book fell from his hands. Perhaps I can explain, Kushina said with a gentle smile. Hello, Kakashi? You've grown. Kakashi's Sharingan eye began spinning involuntarily, and Naruto saw his sensei's hand move toward a kunai, then freeze as recognition dawned. Kushina-sama? But that's impossible. You died 17 years ago. I was there. You were, Kushina confirmed. And I did die. But death isn't always the end. She moved to stand beside Naruto, placing a hand on his shoulder. I've returned temporarily to train my son in techniques that will help him face the threats coming to this world. Kakashi's analytical mind was clearly struggling to process this. Returned from where? The Pure Land? And what techniques could possibly require training from beyond death? From a place called the World of the Kais, Kushina said. And as for the techniques, let me show you. She moved so fast that Naruto barely saw it. One moment she was beside him. The next, she was across the room, then behind Kakashi, then back in her original position. The entire sequence took less than a second, and she moved without making a sound, without disturbing the air, without even a flicker of chakra. Kakashi's Sharingan hadn't tracked even one of those movements. That's impossible, he breathed. Not even the fourth Hokage could move that fast without the Flying Thunder God technique. My husband's technique required spatial markers and chakra, Kushina said softly, and Naruto heard the pain in her voice at the mention of his father. What I just demonstrated was pure speed achieved through perfect control of divine ki and the preliminary stages of Ultra Instinct. My body moved independently of conscious thought, taking the most efficient path possible. She looked at Kakashi seriously. The threats I mentioned aren't hypothetical. There are beings beyond this world, gods, demons, and entities that exist between, who are becoming aware of Earth's existence. Some are benevolent. Many are not. Chakra alone won't be enough to face them. Kakashi sat down slowly on Naruto's bed, looking shaken. And you believe Naruto can learn this? Ultra instinct? I don't just believe it. I know it. Kushina's eyes blazed with conviction. The Uzumaki clan's life force, combined with the Nine Tails chakra and Naruto's own indomitable will. These factors make him uniquely suited to bridge the gap between mortal and divine. What about the village? Kakashi asked. The Hokage will need to know about this. Tsunade already does, Kushina said, surprising both of them. I visited her last night before coming to Naruto. She's given her approval for this training, though she's understandably concerned about the risks. Naruto felt a flash of irritation. Everyone's talking about me like I'm not in the room. Sorry, sweetie. Kushina ruffled his hair. But Kakashi raises a good point. This training will require you to miss some regular missions and team activities. We need to establish a cover story. Tell people I'm doing specialized training with a visiting master, Naruto suggested. It's basically true, Kakashi nodded slowly. I can work with that. But Naruto. His voice became serious. If this training ever becomes too dangerous, if you feel like you're losing yourself, you need to stop. No technique is worth your life. I'll be careful, sensei. I promise. After Kakashi left, looking deeply troubled, Kushina turned to Naruto with an apologetic expression. I'm sorry for springing that on you. But Kakashi needed to know. He's your teacher and your protector. Keeping him in the dark could have been dangerous. It's okay. Naruto paused. Mom, can I ask you something? Why is the Uzumaki bloodline special for learning divine techniques? Kushina's expression became thoughtful. That's a good question, and the answer requires some history. Come, sit. They sat together on Naruto's bed, and Kushina began to speak in a storyteller's cadence. The Uzumaki clan was always unusual, even among ninja clans. Our massive chakra reserves, our longevity, our natural affinity for sealing techniques. These weren't just random genetic advantages. They were echoes of something older. Echoes of what? Of divine heritage. Kushina's eyes seemed to look into the distant past. Thousands of years ago, long before the Sage of Six Paths, a being of divine origin visited this world. Not a god, exactly, but something close, an entity from the world of the Kais who took human form and lived among mortals. This being fell in love with a human woman, and from their union came the first Uzumaki. Naruto's eyes widened. So we're part god. The divine blood has been diluted over thousands of years and countless generations, Kushina cautioned. By now, it's just the faintest trace, barely detectable even to angels, but it's there, written into your DNA. It's why Uzumaki chakra feels different from normal chakra. Warmer, more vibrant, more alive. It's as close to divine ki as mortal energy can get while still being chakra. She placed her hand over Naruto's heart. That trace of divinity in your blood is what allows your body to potentially withstand divine ki without being torn apart. A normal human channeling even a fraction of divine energy would be destroyed instantly. But you? You have a foundation to build on. Does that mean it'll be easy? Naruto asked hopefully. Kushina laughed. Not even close. That trace of divine heritage gives you the potential, but realizing that potential will be the hardest thing you've ever done. It's like, imagine you found out you have a distant ancestor who was a master swordsmith. That doesn't mean you automatically know how to forge swords. You still have to learn, to practice, to fail countless times before you succeed. But at least I have the right bloodline for it, Naruto said. Exactly. Kushina stood and stretched. Which brings us to today's lesson. We're going to start awakening that divine heritage within you, teaching your body to recognize and circulate divine ki. Right now? In my apartment? No, we'll need more space. And more privacy. Kushina extended her hand, and the air shimmered around them. I'm going to take you somewhere special. Don't be afraid. Naruto took her hand, and the world dissolved. When reality reassembled, Naruto found himself standing in a place that defied description. The sky was purple and gold, swirling with colors that didn't exist in nature. Beneath his feet was something that looked like clouds but felt solid as marble. In the distance, massive crystalline structures floated in the air, connected by bridges of light. "Welcome to the sacred world of the Kais," Kushina said with a smile. "Specifically, to a training dimension attached to it. Time flows differently here. One day here equals about an hour in your world. We can train for hours without worrying about people missing you." Naruto turned in a slow circle, drinking in the impossible beauty of this place. "This is incredible. It's also extremely dangerous for mortals," Kushina warned. "The ambient divine energy here is thousands of times stronger than Earth's. Without me here to protect you, you'd be crushed by the pressure. But that same pressure will help accelerate your training." She walked to the center of the cloud platform and sat down in a meditation pose. "Come. Sit across from me." Naruto obeyed, crossing his legs and facing his mother. Up close, he could see the way divine energy swirled around her like invisible currents, occasionally manifesting as flickers of silver light. "Close your eyes," Kushina instructed. "And I want you to do something difficult. I want you to consciously lower your chakra reserves to almost nothing. Shut down your chakra network except for the bare minimum needed to keep you alive." "Why?" "Because right now, your body is flooded with Uzumaki chakra and Kurama's demon energy. It's like trying to hear a whisper while standing next to a waterfall. We need to quiet the loud energies so you can perceive the subtle one, that trace of divine heritage in your blood." Naruto closed his eyes and began the meditation technique Jiraiya had taught him years ago. He visualized his chakra network, the pathways through his body that carried his life energy. Slowly, carefully, he began restricting the flow, damming it up until only a trickle remained. It felt strange. Vulnerable. Like walking around without his jumpsuit on. "Good," Kushina murmured. "Now I'm going to place my hand over your heart. You're going to feel something unusual. Don't fight it. Don't try to understand it. Just observe." Naruto felt her palm press against his chest, and then, heat. Cold. Pressure. Lightness. Every sensation at once and none of them individually. Something flowed from Kushina's hand into his body, and it felt nothing like chakra. Chakra was warm and active, constantly moving. This was perfectly still, yet somehow infinitely dynamic. It didn't flow through his chakra pathways because it didn't need pathways. It simply existed in every cell simultaneously. "That's divine ki," Kushina whispered. "I'm letting just the tiniest amount enter your system. Can you feel how different it is from chakra? It's like comparing a campfire to lightning," Naruto gasped. "Now focus inward. Deep inside, at the very core of your being. There's a place where your Uzumaki heritage lives, not in your chakra network, but in your blood itself. Try to find it." Naruto dove deeper into meditation than he'd ever gone before. Past the roaring presence of Kurama's chakra, past his own energy, past thought and feeling, down to something fundamental, and there, so faint he almost missed it, he felt something respond to the divine ki Kushina was channeling. It was like a tiny ember buried under mountains of ash. Small, weak, but unmistakably divine. "I feel it." Naruto's eyes snapped open. "It's small, but it's there." Kushina was crying, but she was smiling too. "I knew it. I knew you had it in you." She pulled her hand back, and immediately Naruto felt the loss of that divine energy like a physical ache. "That ember is your birthright, Naruto. Every Uzumaki has it, but most never even know it exists because chakra drowns it out. Over the coming weeks, we're going to fan that ember into a flame." "How?" "By repeatedly exposing your body to divine ki in controlled amounts. Each time, that divine spark in your blood will grow a little stronger, a little brighter. Eventually, you'll be able to generate your own divine ki, not much at first, maybe just enough to make your hand glow. But it will be yours, born from your heritage and refined through your will." She stood and helped Naruto to his feet. "But that's the foundation. To actually learn Ultra Instinct, you need more than just divine energy. You need to fundamentally change how your body and mind interact." Kushina raised her hand, and a dozen spheres of light materialized around them, each one pulsing with different colors. Ultra Instinct has several stages. The first, called Ultra Instinct Sign, allows your body to dodge autonomously. Your body reacts to danger before your mind processes it. The second, mastered Ultra Instinct, extends that autonomous movement to attacks as well. Your body fights perfectly, without thought, without hesitation, without ego. And there are other stages? Naruto asked, eyeing the spheres warily. There are. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. Right now, you can't even achieve the basic prerequisite, clearing your mind of conscious thought while remaining fully aware. That's what we worked on last night, and that's what we'll work on again now. But this time, the spheres began orbiting around Naruto at increasing speeds. The consequences of failure will be more educational. One sphere suddenly shot toward Naruto's head. He jerked backward, too slow. The sphere struck his forehead with surprising force, and he yelped. "Ow! That actually hurt." "They're supposed to," Kushina said unsympathetically. "Pain is an excellent teacher. Now empty your mind and dodge. Don't think. Don't predict. Just be." What followed was the most frustrating hour of Naruto's life. The spheres attacked from every angle, at unpredictable intervals, with varying speeds. Every time he tried to think about where they'd come from or where they'd go next, he got hit. Every time he tried to force his body to react without thinking, he got hit. Every time he let his mind wander to anything other than pure, empty awareness, he got hit. By the end, he was covered in bruises and seething with frustration. "This is impossible," he shouted, catching yet another sphere to the ribs. "How am I supposed to move without thinking about moving? That's not how bodies work." Kushina stopped the exercise, and the spheres vanished. She approached Naruto and placed both hands on his shoulders. "Naruto, you're trying to force it. Ultra Instinct can't be forced. It's not about trying harder or wanting it more. It's about surrender." "Surrender? I don't know how to surrender." "I know. It's not in your nature." She smiled sadly. "You've spent your entire life fighting for acknowledgement, fighting for your dreams, fighting to protect people. The idea of not fighting, of simply allowing your body to do what it knows how to do, feels wrong to you. But that's exactly what Ultra Instinct requires." She stepped back and closed her eyes. "Watch." The spheres reappeared, more of them this time, moving faster. They shot toward Kushina from every direction simultaneously, and she didn't move. Or rather, she moved so subtly, so minimally, that each sphere missed by mere millimeters. Her body swayed like grass in the wind, each movement flowing into the next without conscious direction. "See?" she said, her eyes still closed. "I'm not thinking about dodging. I'm not predicting their paths. My body simply moves to where the danger isn't. The spheres are dangerous, so my body naturally exists in the spaces between them." She opened her eyes, and the spheres froze in midair. "That's what you need to learn, Naruto. Not to fight the attacks, but to simply not be where they are. To achieve that, you need to let go of control. You need to trust that your body, which has been training since you could walk, knows what to do." Naruto sat down heavily, exhausted and discouraged. "What if I can't? What if I'm just not built for this kind of fighting?" Kushina knelt beside him, tilting his chin up so he met her eyes. "Do you remember what you told me last night? That with me here to teach you, you could do anything. Did you mean it?" "Yes, but..." "No buts." Her voice was firm but loving. "Naruto, I've seen the future, many possible futures. In some of them, you master Ultra Instinct and become a protector not just of this world, but of the entire universe. In others, you give up after a few weeks and return to being a normal shinobi. The difference between those futures isn't talent or bloodline or luck. It's choice. The choice to keep going even when it seems impossible." She pulled him into a hug. "You are my son. You have my stubborn refusal to quit, and your father's genius in combat. You have Kurama's power, and the Uzumaki divine heritage. But most importantly, you have something that can't be inherited or granted. You have a heart that never gives up on people, not even on yourself. Trust that heart, Naruto. Let it guide your body when your mind can't." Naruto hugged her back, feeling tears sting his eyes. "I'll try, Mom. I promise I'll keep trying. I know you will." She pulled back and wiped his tears away with her thumb. "Now let's take a break from sphere dodging and work on something else. learning to sense divine ki in your environment. She stood and spread her arms wide. This entire dimension is saturated with divine energy. Right now, your chakra sensing abilities are useless here because divine ki operates on a different frequency. But that ember in your blood? It can sense divine energy naturally. You just need to learn how to perceive what it's telling you. How do I do that? Same way you learn to sense chakra, but inverted. With chakra sensing, you extend your awareness outward, feeling for the energy signatures of others. With divine ki sensing, you turn your awareness inward, feeling for the resonance between your divine heritage and the divine energy around you. Naruto closed his eyes again and focused on that tiny ember he'd felt earlier. It was still there, warm and bright, responding to the ambient divine ki in the dimension. And as he focused on it, he began to feel something like sonar. The ember pulsed, and each pulse sent ripples through his awareness that bounced off concentrations of divine energy. He could feel Kushina in front of him, blazing like the sun. He could feel the crystalline structures in the distance, humming with stored divine power. He could even feel the subtle currents of divine ki flowing through the dimension like invisible rivers. I can feel it, he breathed. It's everywhere. Good. Now, keep that awareness active and try walking around. Don't use your eyes. Navigate purely by divine ki sense. Naruto stood, eyes still closed, and took a tentative step forward. His divine sensing told him there was open space ahead, so he took another step, then another. He walked in a wide circle around the platform, avoiding Kushina's blazing presence, following the currents of divine energy like a map. Excellent! Kushina clapped her hands. In just a few hours, you've awakened your divine heritage and learned basic divine ki sensing. Naruto, that's progress that takes most angel trainees weeks to achieve. Naruto opened his eyes, grinning despite his exhaustion and bruises. Really? Really? You have natural talent for this. Probably because of how long you've been connected to Kurama's chakra. It's prepared your body and mind for handling energies beyond normal human limits. She glanced at the swirling sky. But we should head back. You've been here for about 6 hours, which means only an hour has passed in your world, but your body still needs rest. As the dimension began to shimmer and fade, Naruto felt a sudden panic. Mom, wait! When will I see you again? Tonight, she promised, taking his hand as the world dissolved. Every night until you master this, or until my time in the mortal world runs out. I have 6 months here before I must return to my duties as an angel in training. 6 months to teach you everything I can. 6 months? Naruto's heart clenched. Then what? Then you continue training on your own, using what I've taught you. Kushina's smile was bittersweet. But Naruto, 6 months in the sacred world's time is years of training. We'll make every second count. They materialized back in Naruto's apartment, and Kushina immediately released a wave of healing energy that soothed his bruises and restored his depleted chakra. Rest now. Eat a good dinner. Spend time with your friends. Living a full life outside of training is important too. It keeps you grounded, gives you something to protect. She began to fade, becoming translucent in the afternoon light. I'm proud of you, Naruto. Today, you took the first real steps on a path that will change everything. Sleep well, my son. And then she was gone. Naruto stood alone in his apartment, but he didn't feel alone. He could still feel that ember of divine heritage burning in his blood, slightly brighter than before. He could still sense the faint traces of divine ki his mother had left behind, like her perfume lingering in the air. He looked at his hands and whispered, Ultra Instinct. I'm really going to learn it. You're going to try. Kurama rumbled in his mind. Whether you succeed remains to be seen. But kid? For what it's worth, I believe in you. Naruto smiled and headed for the shower. He had a lot to think about, a lot to process. But underneath the exhaustion and the bruises and the lingering ache of divine ki exposure, he felt something he hadn't felt in a long time. He felt hope. Pure, undiluted hope for a future where he could protect everyone he cared about, where he was strong enough to face any threat, where he could make his mother proud. The path ahead would be brutal. It would test him in ways he couldn't yet imagine. But as he stood under the hot water, letting it wash away the sweat and fatigue, Naruto made a silent vow. He would master Ultra Instinct, no matter what it took. 3 weeks had passed since Kushina first appeared, and Naruto's life had fallen into a strange new rhythm. Days were spent maintaining appearances, going on missions with Team Kakashi, eating ramen at Ichiraku, training with his friends. But every night, when the village slept, he would slip away to meet his mother, and together they would vanish into the sacred world of the Kais. Time was a curious thing in that divine dimension. What felt like 8-hour training sessions there translated to barely 2 hours in the mortal world. Naruto had effectively gained weeks of additional training time, and his body showed it. He stood now before his bathroom mirror, studying the changes. His muscles were more defined, carved by the relentless physical conditioning Kushina put him through, but the real changes were subtler, invisible to normal eyes. When he focused, he could see faint silver threads running beneath his skin, pathways of divine ki that were slowly forming alongside his chakra network. The ember of his divine heritage had grown into a steady flame, burning at the center of his being. He could call upon small amounts of divine ki now, enough to make his hand glow with silvery light or to enhance his physical abilities beyond what chakra alone could achieve. But Ultra Instinct itself remained frustratingly out of reach. "You're thinking about it again," Sakura observed during their mission briefing that morning. She'd grown more perceptive over the years, and Naruto's recent distraction hadn't escaped her notice. "Whatever this special training is, it's eating at you." "I'm fine, Sakura-chan," Naruto insisted, forcing a grin. "Just got a lot on my mind." Kakashi lowered his book, studying Naruto with his uncovered eye. Since learning about Kushina and the Ultra Instinct training, he'd been watching Naruto more carefully, looking for signs of strain or danger. "The mission today is simple reconnaissance. We investigate reports of unusual activity near the Valley of the End. Nothing dangerous, in theory." "In theory?" Naruto perked up. After weeks of sphere dodging and meditation, a real mission sounded almost relaxing. "There have been energy signatures that don't match any known jutsu," Kakashi explained. "The Hokage wants us to investigate before sending a larger team." They set out within the hour, traveling through the forests at a steady pace. Naruto found himself moving differently than before, more fluidly, more efficiently. His divine ki training had improved his spatial awareness, making him more conscious of every movement, every wasted motion. "You're getting better at this," Kurama observed. "Your movements are smoother, more purposeful." "Thanks, Kurama," Naruto thought back. "But I still can't do the one thing I'm supposed to be learning. Every time I think I'm close to achieving that empty mind state, something goes wrong." "Patience isn't your strong suit, Kit. But this technique requires it. You're trying to unlearn 17 years of instinct and training. Give it time." They reached the Valley of the End by midday. The massive statues of Hashirama Senju and Madara Uchiha loomed over the waterfall, frozen in their eternal battle. Naruto felt a chill as he remembered the last time he'd been here, fighting Sasuke, trying desperately to bring his friend back to the village. "Split up and search," Kakashi ordered. "Stay in communication range. If you find anything unusual, signal immediately." Naruto took the eastern cliff face, leaping from outcropping to outcropping with practiced ease. His divine ki sensing, now second nature, extended outward like invisible fingers, feeling for anything that didn't belong. Chakra signatures were easy to detect, warm and active. Divine ki would feel different, cold, perfect and still. He was halfway up the cliff when his senses screamed a warning. Divine ki. Strong. Close. Naruto spun, kunai already in hand, and found himself face to face with a figure that shouldn't exist. It was humanoid but clearly not human. Its skin was pale purple, its eyes completely black with red pupils, and it wore armor that seemed to be made of solidified darkness. Most disturbingly, divine ki radiated from it in waves. "A mortal who can sense divine energy," the creature said in a voice like grinding stones. "How unexpected. And interesting." "Who are you?" Naruto demanded, falling into a fighting stance. "What are you doing here?" "I am Zephin, a lower demon from the Dark Realm." "As for what I'm doing here," the demon's mouth split into a too-wide grin, "I'm hunting. This world is rich with souls, and no one guards the barriers between dimensions. It's a buffet, and I intend to feast." The demon moved, and Naruto's training saved his life. Without conscious thought, his body jerked sideways as dark energy lanced through the space where his head had been a moment before. He didn't think about dodging, couldn't have thought fast enough. His body simply moved. For a fraction of a second, Naruto felt it. That empty mind state. That perfect clarity where his body acted independently of thought. Then the moment passed, and Zephyr was attacking again. Naruto formed hand seals on pure instinct. Shadow Clone Jutsu. A dozen copies burst into existence, surrounding the demon. They attacked in coordinated strikes, but Zephyr moved through them like smoke, his clawed hands dispersing clone after clone. Pathetic. The demon laughed. Is this the best Earth's defenders can offer? You wield divine ki like a child with a sword. No technique, no understanding, just raw flailing. Dark energy exploded outward, destroying the remaining clones and sending Naruto tumbling backward. He caught himself on the cliff face, chakra adhering him to the stone, and reached for the Ninetales' power. Orange chakra began bubbling around him, forming the familiar shroud. No, Naruto muttered, surprising himself. Not yet. Kit, what are you doing? That thing is dangerous. I know. But Mom said I need to learn to trust my body, to let go of control. If I just overwhelm every problem with the Ninetales chakra, I'll never learn. This isn't training. This is a real fight. I know, Naruto repeated, and this time there was steel in his voice. He pulled the Ninetales chakra back, letting only his own energy, and the small amount of divine ki he could generate flow through his system. Which makes it the perfect test. Zephyr laughed and charged again, moving faster than Naruto's eyes could track. But Naruto wasn't relying on his eyes anymore. He closed them, extending his divine ki sense, feeling the demon's energy signature like a beacon in the darkness. The demon's fist came from the left. Naruto's body swayed right. A kick from below. He lifted his foot. Claws aimed at his throat. He leaned back. Each movement was minimal, precise, and completely unconscious. Naruto's mind observed, detached and calm, while his body danced between the attacks. He could feel it happening, that separation between thought and action that Kushina had described. His mind was clear, empty, and his body moved like water flowing around stones. Impossible! Zephyr snarled. You're just a mortal. You shouldn't be able to. Naruto's eyes snapped open, and for just an instant, they flickered silver. His body moved before his mind gave the command, closing the distance to Zephyr in a blur of motion. His fist, wrapped in unstable divine ki and chakra, drove into the demon's gut with devastating force. The demon flew backward, smashing into Madara's statue with enough force to crack the stone. Naruto stood in the attack's follow-through position, breathing hard, staring at his still glowing fist in amazement. I did it, he whispered. Pain exploded through his arm. The unstable mixture of divine ki and chakra was tearing his muscles apart from the inside. Naruto gasped and fell to one knee, clutching his arm as the glow faded. Idiot! I told you not to mix the energies. They're fundamentally incompatible. Zephyr pulled himself from the rubble, looking significantly less confident. You actually hurt me. With that pathetic amount of divine energy, you actually hurt me. The demon's expression shifted from shock to fury. I'll tear you apart for that. Before he could attack, 3 figures appeared between Naruto and the demon. Kakashi, Sakura, and Sai had arrived, and they looked ready for battle. Naruto, fall back! Kakashi ordered, his Sharingan spinning. Whatever that thing is, it's beyond anything we've faced before. It's a demon, Naruto said, forcing himself to stand despite the pain in his arm. From someplace called the Dark Realm. And it's using divine ki. Sakura's eyes widened. Divine ki? Like what your mother. Enough talk. Zephyr roared. Dark energy swirled around him, condensing into hundreds of needle-like projectiles. You'll all make fine additions to my collection. The needles launched, and the world seemed to slow down. Naruto felt it again, stronger this time. That clarity. That perfect, empty calm. His body moved on its own, flowing between the projectiles like smoke. His hand shot out, grabbing Sakura and pulling her out of the path of 3 needles she hadn't seen. His other hand pushed Sai to the side, saving him from a cluster aimed at his back. Time snapped back to normal speed, and Naruto found himself standing in a small clear space, completely untouched, while needles quivered in the ground all around him. Kakashi stared. How did you? I don't know, Naruto admitted, his heart pounding. My body just moved. Zefan's eyes narrowed. That movement. That's not possible. You're showing signs of, no. No mortal could achieve even a fraction of. Understanding dawned on the demon's face, followed by fear. The angel. You're being trained by an angel. Before anyone could respond, the air above them split open, and Kushina stepped through. Her expression was calm, but her eyes blazed with divine fury. The air around her shimmered with barely contained power. Zephan, she said, her voice carrying the weight of absolute authority. You have violated the accords between realms. You have hunted in a protected world, and worst of all, her power flared, and even Kakashi fell to one knee under the pressure. You attacked my son. The demon tried to flee, tearing open a portal back to his realm. But Kushina moved, and the word fast didn't do it justice. She simply existed next to him, her hand gripping his throat before the portal fully formed. Angel, please. Zephan begged. I didn't know. I didn't know he was under your protection. That's not a defense, Kushina said coldly. She looked at Naruto, and her expression softened slightly. Close your eyes, sweetie. What happens next isn't something you need to see. Naruto obeyed, and even with his eyes closed, he felt the surge of divine ki as Kushina passed judgment. There was a scream, cut short, and then silence. When Naruto opened his eyes, Zephan was gone. Kushina stood alone, her robes unstained, her expression troubled. Are you alright? She asked, rushing to Naruto and examining his injured arm. Divine energy flowed from her hands, knitting torn muscles and soothing inflamed chakra pathways. You mixed divine ki with chakra, didn't you? I told you that was dangerous. I had to do something. Naruto protested. He was going to kill people, so you nearly crippled yourself? Kushina's voice was sharp with fear and frustration. Naruto, divine ki and chakra are like oil and water. Forcing them to mix creates an unstable reaction that damages you from the inside out. Until you can generate enough divine ki to fight without chakra, you can't combine them. Then what was I supposed to do? Just let him attack? Kushina opened her mouth to respond, then closed it, her anger deflating. No. You did what you had to do. And you protected your friends in the process. She pulled him into a hug. I'm sorry for yelling. You scared me. Kakashi cleared his throat. Kushina-sama, if I may, what was that thing? And are there more like it? Kushina released Naruto and turned to face the team. That was a lower demon from the Dark Realm, one of many dimensions that exist parallel to your world. Normally, the barriers between realms prevent such crossings, but those barriers have been weakening. Zephan is proof that the supernatural world is becoming aware of Earth. And these demons can use divine ki? Sakura asked nervously. Not exactly. Demons use corrupted divine energy, dark ki. It's similar in power but opposite in nature. Light and shadow, creation and destruction. Kushina's expression was grim. Zephan was weak, barely more than a scout. But he won't be the last. Stronger beings will come, drawn by Earth's wealth of life energy and souls. Sai, who'd been silent until now, spoke up in his usual emotionless tone. Then Naruto's training in Ultra Instinct is preparation for an invasion? It's preparation for survival, Kushina corrected. For all of you. The age where chakra alone was enough to face any threat is ending. You'll need to adapt or be swept aside. That night, after reports were filed and the team dismissed, Naruto met his mother in the sacred world of the Kais. But instead of their usual training ground, Kushina took him to a new location, a vast chamber filled with floating screens that displayed images from across the multiverse. I need to show you something, Kushina said quietly. The real reason I'm training you so hard, why I'm pushing you beyond normal limits. She gestured, and one screen expanded, showing a world consumed by darkness. Cities burned, people screamed, and creatures of nightmare feasted on the destruction. This is Universe 13, a parallel reality to your own. 5 years ago, a crack opened between their world and the Dark Realm. By the time the angels intervened, 80% of their population was gone. Another screen showed a different world, this one frozen in eternal ice. Universe 7, attacked by a rogue god of destruction who went mad. The angel sealed him away, but not before he destroyed half their universe. More screens, more destroyed worlds. Naruto watched in growing horror as the scale of cosmic threats became clear. This is what's out there, Naruto, Kushina said softly. Threats that make the Akatsuki look like children playing with toys. And Earth, your Earth, Universe 27, is protected only by the fact that it's been overlooked. Remote. Unimportant. But that's changing. She closed the screens, and they stood in darkness. The barriers are weakening. Zephin's appearance today proves it. Soon more will come. Stronger beings. Demons, gods, entities that don't fit into either category. And when they do, Earth's shinobi won't be enough to stop them. Then we need to make the shinobi stronger, Naruto said immediately. Teach Ultra Instinct to everyone. Make the whole village as strong as. It doesn't work like that. Kushina's voice was gentle but firm. Ultra Instinct isn't a jutsu that can be copied or taught to just anyone. It requires divine heritage, massive energy reserves, and mental discipline that takes decades to develop. You have all three because of your unique circumstances. Most people have none. So what? I'm just supposed to get strong enough to protect everyone by myself. No. You're supposed to get strong enough to teach others a different path. Kushina placed her hands on his shoulders. Not everyone can learn Ultra Instinct, but everyone can learn to use Divine Ki to some degree. You'll be the bridge, Naruto, the first mortal to master divine techniques and then pass that knowledge to others who have the potential. She smiled. That's why today, despite the danger, I was actually pleased with your progress. You achieved Ultra Instinct Sign, the first stage. Multiple times during that fight, your body moved autonomously, reacting faster than thought. That's real progress. But I couldn't maintain it, Naruto said, frustrated. It only happened in brief flashes, and I couldn't control when it activated. That's normal. Ultra Instinct Sign is incredibly unstable at first. It takes most people years to activate it reliably, and you did it after only 3 weeks of training. Kushina led him to the center of the chamber. Tonight, we're going to work on something new. Instead of trying to achieve the empty mind state through meditation, we're going to force it through extreme pressure. Extreme pressure? Kushina's expression became serious. I'm going to attack you with genuine intent to harm. Not spheres, not training exercises. Real combat at a level that will push you to your absolute limits. Your conscious mind won't be fast enough to defend against me. The only way you'll survive is by letting your body take control completely. Naruto felt a chill run down his spine. You're going to fight me? For real? I'll hold back enough not to kill you, and I'll heal any serious injuries immediately. But yes, this will hurt. A lot. She moved into a fighting stance, and her power began to rise. This is called immersion training. We're going to drown you in danger until your body learns to swim on its own. Mom, I don't know if I'm ready for. Kushina moved. Naruto's eyes couldn't track her. One instant she was across the chamber. The next, her fist was driving toward his face with enough force to shatter mountains. His conscious mind screamed in panic, trying to form a plan, to dodge, to do something. His body jerked to the side without his input. The fist missed by millimeters, and Naruto felt the displaced air ruffle his hair. He didn't have time to process what happened before Kushina attacked again. Her movements flowing like water, each strike coming from an impossible angle. Naruto's mind went blank from sheer terror and necessity. He stopped trying to think, stopped trying to predict, stopped trying to do anything except exist in the moment. And his body moved like it had a mind of its own. Duck. Weave. Sidestep. Bend backward. Roll forward. Every movement was minimal, precise, and perfect. Kushina's attacks, any one of which could kill him, passed by harmlessly as Naruto's body found the spaces between them. Good. Kushina's voice penetrated the haze. Don't think. Just be. She increased her speed, and Naruto's body responded in kind. He wasn't moving faster. He was moving smarter, more efficiently. Where Kushina's fist would travel a foot to reach him, his body would shift an inch to avoid it. Conservation of motion. Absolute efficiency. His eyes began to tingle, and the world took on a strange silver sheen. He could see Kushina's movements more clearly now, not predicting them but simply knowing where they would be because his body was reading microscopic muscle twitches, air displacement, gravitational shifts. Yes. Kushina stopped attacking and stepped back, breathing hard despite her divine stamina. You're doing it! Look at your eyes. She materialized a mirror, and Naruto stared at his reflection in shock. His eyes had changed. They were still blue, but now they had a silver sheen to them, almost like they were glowing from within. Ultra Instinct Sign, Kushina said with pride. Your body has begun the transformation. That silver glow is the visual marker of the technique activating. Naruto blinked, and his eyes returned to normal. The moment he became conscious of what was happening, the state vanished like smoke. Don't worry, Kushina assured him, seeing his disappointment. Maintaining it consciously comes later. Right now you've proven you can activate it under pressure. That's huge progress. She pulled him into a hug, and Naruto was surprised to feel her trembling slightly. I'm sorry for scaring you like that, but you needed to understand what real danger feels like. What stakes high enough to force your survival instincts to override your conscious mind. It's okay, Mom, Naruto said, hugging her back. I get it. And it worked. I actually felt it. That state where my body moved without me telling it to. You did more than feel it. You achieved it. Kushina pulled back, wiping her eyes. Naruto, you're progressing faster than anyone I've ever seen, even among angels. Achieving Ultra Instinct Sign in 3 weeks is unprecedented. Is that because of my divine heritage? Partly. But mostly it's because of who you are, your experiences, your instincts, your will to protect others. Those intangibles matter more than bloodline. She glanced at the swirling sky. We should head back. You need rest, and I need to report this encounter with Sephin to the Grand Priest. As they prepared to leave, Naruto grabbed his mother's hand. Mom? Thank you. For coming back. For training me. For everything. Kushina smiled through fresh tears. Naruto, there's nowhere else in all the universes I'd rather be than here with you. Never doubt that. They returned to the mortal world, and after Kushina faded away, Naruto lay in bed, staring at the ceiling. His arm, fully healed by divine energy, felt strange, stronger somehow, as if the damage and repair had tempered it like folded steel. You're changing, Kurama observed. I can feel it. The divine key is becoming part of you, not just something you channel. You're starting to bridge the gap between mortal and divine. Is that a good thing? Naruto asked. Ask me when you survive what's coming, the fox replied, but there was warmth in his voice. Sleep, Kit. Tomorrow brings new challenges. Naruto closed his eyes, and for the first time in weeks, he dreamed. He dreamed of silver eyes and perfect movement, of a state where thought and action were the same thing, of becoming strong enough to protect everyone he loved from threats he was only beginning to understand. In the dream, he stood alone on a battlefield against impossible odds. But he wasn't afraid, because his body knew how to dance between the dangers. And that, Kushina had taught him, was the beginning of Ultra Instinct. 2 months had passed since the encounter with Sephin, and Konohagakure was changing in subtle ways that only the most observant noticed. ANBU patrols had increased around the village perimeter. Barrier teams reinforced the protective seals daily. And in the Hokage's office, Tsunade held increasingly frequent meetings with the village elders about threats that couldn't be discussed publicly. Naruto noticed because he was part of those threats now. Or rather, part of the solution being prepared against them. His training with Kushina had intensified to the point of obsession. Every night without fail, he vanished into the sacred world of the Kais, where time moved differently and pain was a constant companion. The sphere exercises had given way to full combat scenarios against opponents crafted from divine ki, shadow warriors that moved with inhuman speed and struck with devastating precision. He'd learned to activate Ultra Instinct Sign reliably now, though maintaining it for more than a few seconds remained impossible. Those brief moments when his eyes turned silver and his body moved beyond thought. They were becoming more frequent, more natural, like a muscle memory his consciousness was finally learning to access. But there was a cost. You look like death, Kiba said bluntly during morning training. The rest of the Konoha 11 had gathered at Training Ground 3 for a joint exercise, and Naruto's exhausted appearance hadn't escaped notice. I'm fine, Naruto insisted, though the dark circles under his eyes told a different story. Just been training hard. Too hard, Shikamaru observed, his sharp eyes missing nothing. Whatever this special training is, Naruto, you're pushing yourself to the breaking point. That's not sustainable. What choice do I have? The words came out harsher than Naruto intended. There are things out there, threats that make anything we've faced look like nothing. If I don't get stronger, if I can't master this technique, then we'll face those threats together, Sakura interrupted firmly. The way we always have. You don't have to carry everything alone, Naruto. Naruto wanted to argue, to explain that this was different, that ultra instinct was something only he could learn. But looking at his friends, Sakura's determined expression, Shikamaru's concerned frown, even Kiba's worried scowl, he realized they wouldn't understand. How could they? They hadn't seen the destroyed universes in Kushina's vision screens. They hadn't felt the overwhelming power of even a lower demon like Zephyr. Let's just focus on today's training, he said finally, avoiding the confrontation. The exercise was simple, a capture the flag scenario with two teams competing across the training ground's forested terrain. Naruto found himself paired with Hinata, Choji, and Shino against Team Guy and Team Asuma's remaining members. As they took their positions, Hinata approached him quietly. Naruto-kun, are you sure you're alright? Your chakra feels different lately. Naruto turned to her, surprised. Hinata's Byakugan could see chakra pathways more clearly than anyone, which meant she'd probably noticed the divine key threads forming alongside his normal network. Different how? He asked carefully. It's hard to explain. Your chakra is still there, still the same warm presence it's always been. But there's something else now, something colder, more refined. Like, she struggled for the words, like, looking at the stars. Distant but powerful. Before Naruto could respond, the signal flare launched, and the exercise began. His team moved through the forest with practiced coordination. Shino's insects scouted ahead, Choji provided mobile defense, and Hinata's Byakugan gave them perfect reconnaissance. Naruto, despite his exhaustion, felt his body moving more fluidly than ever before. The constant training in Ultra Instinct had refined his movements to an almost supernatural degree. They were approaching the enemy flag when Naruto's Divine Key Sense, now active constantly at a low level, picked up something wrong. Not chakra signatures, but something else. Something that felt like the corrupted energy Zephyr had wielded. Stop, he said sharply, raising his hand. His team halted immediately, trusting his instincts. What is it? Shino asked, his insects suddenly agitated. Something's here. Something that shouldn't be. Naruto extended his senses further, and his blood ran cold. Multiple signatures. Dozens of them, scattered throughout the training ground, moving toward the gathered shinobi with predatory intent. Hinata, use your Byakugan. Tell me what you see. Hinata activated her dojutsu, and her gasp told Naruto everything he needed to know. There are creatures. They're not quite solid, like they're halfway between dimensions. I count 20, no, 30 of them, and they're surrounding everyone. A scream cut through the forest. Then another. Naruto didn't think. His body moved on pure instinct, divine ki flooding his system as he rocketed toward the screams. Behind him, he heard his team following, but they seemed to move in slow motion compared to his divine enhanced speed. He burst into a clearing and found chaos. Lesser demons, smaller and weaker than Zephyr but still deadly, had materialized among the training teams. Lee was down, his leg twisted at an unnatural angle. Tenten was bleeding from a gash across her arm. Niji stood protectively in front of them, his Byakugan active and his hands glowing with chakra, but even he looked overwhelmed. One demon lunged at Niji's exposed back, claws extended to kill. Naruto's eyes flashed silver. The world slowed to a crawl. He could see every detail with crystalline clarity. The demon's muscle fibers tensing for the strike, the displacement of air around its claws, the exact trajectory it would take. But more than seeing, his body knew. Knew where to be, how to move, when to strike. He crossed the distance in a blur, his body flowing around Niji without conscious thought. His fist, wrapped in unstable divine ki and chakra despite Kushina's warnings, caught the demon in the side with devastating force. The creature exploded into dark mist, its essence unable to withstand the violent energy collision. The recoil sent pain lancing up Naruto's arm, but he was already moving. 3 demons to the left, his body weaved between their attacks, each movement minimal and perfect. A spinning kick caught one in the head. An elbow strike shattered another's jaw. The third tried to flee, but Naruto's hand shot out, faster than thought, and tore through its ethereal form. Naruto, stop! You're mixing the energies again. Kurama's voice was urgent. Your arm is tearing itself apart, but Naruto couldn't stop. More demons were appearing, and his friends were in danger. His eyes remained silver, his body operating on autopilot, and some distant part of his mind observed in awe as he moved through the battlefield like a ghost. Duck under claws. Pivot. Strike kidney. Flow left. Catch wrist. Break. Spin. Kick chest. The movements blurred together into a continuous dance of violence, each action flowing seamlessly into the next without conscious direction. He'd never felt more alive and more detached simultaneously. His conscious mind floated above the action, watching his body perform impossible feats. This was Ultra Instinct Sign at its purest, complete separation of thought and action. But it was also killing him. Blood ran down his arm where his skin had split from the internal pressure of mixing energies. His muscles screamed in protest. His chakra network felt like it was on fire, yet his body kept moving, kept fighting, because stopping meant his friends would die. A massive demon materialized behind him, larger than the others, radiating power that dwarfed Zephyr's. Before it could strike, a barrier of golden chains erupted from the ground, binding it in place. Kushina appeared in a flash of light, her expression thunderous. Naruto Uzumaki, stand down this instant. Her command carried divine authority that Naruto's body couldn't ignore. His ultra instinct state flickered and died, and suddenly he was just a 17-year-old boy covered in blood and barely able to stand. He collapsed to one knee, gasping for breath. Mom, we'll talk later. Kushina's hands moved in patterns too fast to follow, and chains of pure divine ki spread across the training ground, binding every demon simultaneously. First, I need to clean up this mess. The large demon struggled against its bindings. Angel. This is a sanctioned hunt. The Accords allow hunts in unprotected worlds, Kushina interrupted coldly. Earth is under my protection now. These souls are off limits. Spread the word in the dark realm. Any demon who crosses into this world forfeits their existence. You can't protect them forever. You're still in training, not a full angel. The moment you're called away, then I suggest you stay far away until you're strong enough to face me directly. Kushina's power flared, and the demon's bravado crumbled into terror. Now, return to your realm and remember this mercy. You won't receive another. She released the chains, and the demons fled, tearing holes in reality in their desperation to escape. Once the last one vanished, Kushina turned to the gathered shinobi, most of whom were staring at her in shock. Is everyone alright? She asked, her voice gentler now. Naruto's injured, Sakura said immediately, rushing to his side with medical chakra glowing around her hands. But when she touched his arm, she pulled back in confusion. This isn't just physical damage, his chakra network it's like it's been burned from the inside. Because it has been. Kushina knelt beside Naruto, her hands glowing with healing divine ki. He mixed divine ki with chakra again despite knowing the risks. The energies are incompatible. Forcing them together creates a violent reaction that damages the body at a cellular level. Then why does he keep doing it? Sakura demanded. Because I'm not strong enough yet, Naruto gasped out. My divine ki alone isn't powerful enough to hurt these demons. But mixing it with chakra, even though it hurts me, gives me enough power to fight them. Kushina's expression was pained as she worked to heal him. You're not supposed to be fighting them at all yet. Ultra Instinct Sign is defensive. It lets you dodge and evade until you're strong enough to fight properly. You're trying to skip ahead, to force offensive capabilities you haven't earned. People were dying, and you nearly died saving them. Kushina's voice cracked. Naruto, if I'd arrived 30 seconds later, the damage to your chakra network would have been permanent. You would have burned out your ability to use chakra entirely. The clearing went silent. For shinobi, losing the ability to use chakra was a fate worse than death. It meant losing everything that made them who they were. I'm sorry, Naruto whispered. But I'd rather burn out my chakra than watch my friends die. Kushina pulled him into a fierce hug, and Naruto felt wetness on her cheeks. You're so much like your father. Brave and stupid in equal measure. She pulled back, cupping his face in her hands. Promise me. Promise you won't mix the energies again until I tell you it's safe. Promise me, Naruto. I promise, he said, meaning it. The look of terror in his mother's eyes was worse than any physical pain. The healing took 20 minutes, and when it was done, Kushina stood to address the assembled shinobi. What you witnessed today cannot leave this training ground. The world isn't ready to know about demons, angels, and the weakening barriers between dimensions. Tsunade will brief your team leaders. For now, return to the village and say nothing. As the others began filing out, many casting curious or concerned glances at Naruto, Hinata lingered. She approached slowly, her Byakugan still active, studying the changes in Naruto's chakra network. The divine ki pathways, she said softly. They're beautiful. Like lightning frozen in crystal. Kushina smiled at her. You have remarkable eyes, Hinata Hyuga. The Byakugan is one of the few dojutsu that can perceive divine energy. That's a rare gift. Hinata blushed but pressed on. Is Naruto-kun going to be alright? This training, it seems so dangerous. It is dangerous. More dangerous than anything else he's ever attempted. Kushina's expression grew serious. But it's also necessary. The barriers between worlds are failing. Soon, Earth will face threats that chakra alone cannot defeat. Naruto is learning to bridge that gap, to become something more than a shinobi but less than a god. It's a lonely path, and it requires sacrifice. Then he shouldn't walk it alone, Hinata said with surprising firmness. Whatever this threat is, whatever's coming, we should face it together. That's what teams do. Kushina studied the young woman for a long moment, and something like approval flickered in her eyes. You care deeply for my son. Hinata's blush deepened, but she didn't look away. I do. I always have. Then help him remember that strength isn't just about power. Help him remember that protecting people doesn't mean standing alone against everything. Kushina glanced at Naruto, who was testing his healed arm with evident relief. He has his father's habit of carrying the world on his shoulders. Someone needs to remind him that shoulders work better in pairs. Hinata nodded and walked over to Naruto. Naruto-kun, I'm glad you're alright. Thanks, Hinata. Naruto grinned, though it was strained. Sorry you had to see all that crazy stuff. I'm not. Her pale eyes met his directly. I want to understand what you're facing. And, if possible, I want to help. Before Naruto could respond, Kushina interjected. Actually, that's not a bad idea. Naruto, would you show Hinata what you've been learning? Let her see Ultra Instinct sign. Here? Now, just a demonstration. No fighting, no mixing energies. Just show her the state itself. Naruto stood, rolling his shoulders. Despite Kushina's healing, he felt drained, but also clearer somehow, as if the near-death experience had burned away some mental fog he hadn't known was there. He closed his eyes and reached for that empty mind state. It was easier now after the intensity of actual combat. The sphere exercises, the sparring with Kushina, the life-or-death battle with demons, all of it had carved pathways in his mind that made accessing Ultra Instinct sign almost natural. His breathing slowed. His heartbeat steadied. And slowly, gradually, his conscious thoughts began to quiet. When he opened his eyes, they glowed silver. Hinata gasped. Your chakra. It's not moving through pathways anymore. It's just, everywhere at once. And the divine key is harmonizing with it, not mixing but existing parallel. It's incredible. This is Ultra Instinct sign, Kushina explained. In this state, Naruto's body operates independently of conscious thought. His movements are guided by pure instinct, reading danger through microscopic changes in air pressure, temperature, gravitational fluctuations. It's not prediction, it's reaction refined to the point where reaction time becomes zero. To demonstrate, she created a sphere of divine ki and sent it toward Naruto at high speed. His body swayed slightly, and the sphere passed harmlessly by his head without him appearing to move at all. He didn't see that coming, Kushina said. His eyes were focused on you, Hinata. but his body sensed the danger and moved autonomously. That's the power of Ultra Instinct. Naruto blinked, and the silver glow faded. He swayed slightly, exhausted from maintaining the state even for those few moments. It's still unstable, he admitted. I can activate it under pressure now, but holding it takes enormous concentration. And I can't fight in this state. Only dodge. Yet, Kushina corrected. You can't fight in this state yet. But you will. She placed a hand on his shoulder. What you did today was reckless and dangerous. But it also showed me how far you've come. 2 months ago, you could barely activate Ultra Instinct Sign at all. Today, you maintained it through an entire battle while simultaneously mixing energies. That's actually kind of impressive, even if it was also incredibly stupid. So I'm progressing? Faster than anyone has a right to. At this rate, you might achieve mastered Ultra Instinct within a year. She paused. Of course, that timeline assumes you stop nearly killing yourself every time you fight. I'll try. You'll do more than try. Because tonight, we're changing your training regimen. Kushina's expression became serious. No more mixing energies, which means we need to get your divine ki generation to a level where you can fight with it alone. That means pushing your divine heritage harder than ever before. How much harder? Kushina smiled, but there was no humor in it. Remember when I told you about the angel's traditional test? Surviving 24 hours in a dimension where thought becomes a physical weakness. I think you're ready to attempt it. Naruto felt his stomach drop. You think? Or you know? With you, my son, the difference between those two is meaningless. You have a habit of achieving impossible things through sheer stubbornness. She ruffled his hair affectionately. Rest today, spend time with your friends. Tomorrow night, your real training begins. As Kushina faded away, Hinata stepped closer to Naruto. She's right, you know. About not facing everything alone. I know. Naruto looked at his hands, flexing his fingers. But Hinata, the things I'm learning, they're beyond anything our generation has dealt with. Gods, demons, beings that can destroy planets. How do I ask anyone to stand beside me against that? By trusting them. Trusting us. Hinata placed her hand over his. We may not have divine ki or ultra instinct, but we have something equally important. We have each other, and together, we're stronger than any one person could be alone. Naruto looked at her, really looked at her, and saw the girl who never given up on him reflected back. The girl who believed in him before he believed in himself. You're right. Thanks, Hinata. They walked back to the village together in comfortable silence, and Naruto felt some of the weight lift from his shoulders. His mother was right. His friends were right. He didn't have to carry everything alone. But as the sun set over Konohagakure, painting the sky in shades of orange and red, Naruto couldn't shake the feeling that harder trials were coming. The demons today had been scouts. Kushina had said as much. Soon, stronger beings would come. Beings that wouldn't flee at the sight of an angel in training. That night, lying in bed, Naruto spoke to Kurama. Do you think I can do it? Really master Ultra Instinct? Honestly? I don't know, the fox admitted. What you're attempting is unprecedented. No mortal has ever bridged the gap between human and divine the way you're trying to. The strain on your body, your mind, your very soul, it's immense. That's not very encouraging. But, Kurama continued, if anyone can do it, it's you. You've already done the impossible more times than I can count. You befriended a demon fox. You saved a village that hated you. You brought me from hatred to, well, something like friendship. Compared to those miracles, mastering Ultra Instinct seems almost reasonable. Naruto smiled in the darkness. Thanks, Kurama. That actually does help. Don't get used to the encouragement. I have a reputation to maintain. But there was warmth in the fox's voice. Sleep, Kit. Tomorrow, you face the trial of the empty mind. You'll need all your strength. As Naruto drifted off to sleep, his last conscious thought was of his eyes turning silver, of his body moving beyond thought, of that perfect moment when he transcended human limitation and touched something divine. Ultra Instinct Sign, the first step on a path that would lead him to heights he couldn't yet imagine, or depths he might not survive. But that was tomorrow's problem. Tonight he dreamed of silver foxes dancing between falling stars, their movements too perfect to be real, too beautiful to be anything but divine. The emergency council meeting was called at dawn, and Tsunade had never looked more exhausted. Dark circles shadowed her eyes, and her normally immaculate appearance showed signs of stress. Wrinkled sleeves, hastily tied hair, the faint tremor in her hands that only came when she'd been drinking heavily the night before. Around the oval table sat the village's leadership, the elders Hamura and Koharu, Shikaka Naro as Jonin commander, representatives from the major clans, and, standing quietly in the corner, Kushina Uzumaki in her full angel regalia. Yesterday's incident cannot be contained, Tsunade began without preamble. Over 30 shinobi witnessed demons attacking within our borders. They saw Kushina Uzumaki, supposedly dead for 17 years, materialize and dispatch those demons with powers none of our ninja possess. The questions have already begun. Then we tell them the truth, Shikaka said simply. Or at least enough of it. Keeping secrets in this situation will only breed panic and mistrust. The truth? Elder Koharu's voice was sharp. That the barriers between dimensions are failing? That gods and demons exist beyond our comprehension? That our entire understanding of the world is fundamentally incomplete? That will cause mass hysteria. Not telling them might cause something worse, Kushina interjected quietly. All eyes turned to her. The demons will return. In greater numbers and with stronger warriors. When they do, the village needs to be prepared, not just militarily, but psychologically. People fight better when they understand what they're facing. And what exactly are they facing? Hayashi Hyuga asked, his Byakugan eyes studying Kushina with the same clinical precision Hinata had shown. You mentioned weakening barriers. Is this a temporary phenomenon or a permanent change? Kushina moved to the center of the room, and the air shimmered. A holographic projection appeared, images drawn from divine ki showing complex dimensional structures. This is the multiverse as angels understand it. 12 universes, each with countless worlds, separated by barriers of divine energy that maintain cosmic balance. The projection zoomed in on one particular world, Earth. Your planet has always been protected by unusually strong barriers. This was intentional. The Sage of Six Paths, working with divine beings millennia ago, reinforced Earth's dimensional walls to prevent outside interference. He wanted humanity to develop its own path, its own power systems, without divine or demonic influence. But those barriers are failing now, Tsunade concluded. Why? Multiple factors. The sage's seals have naturally degraded over thousands of years. The god tree's removal disrupted energy flows that helped maintain the barriers. And, Kushina hesitated, there's been deliberate sabotage. Someone or something has been weakening the barriers from the outside, creating entry points for dimensional travelers. The room erupted in urgent whispers. Shikaka raised his hand for silence. Do we know who? Not yet. The Grand Priest is investigating, but dimensional sabotage is difficult to trace. What we do know is that Earth is now visible to beings who previously couldn't perceive it. Demons, rogue gods, cosmic entities. They're all becoming aware of this world's existence. And many of them view it as either a threat to be eliminated or a resource to be exploited. So we're under siege, Hayashi said flatly. And our defenses are woefully inadequate. Not inadequate, Kushina corrected. Just different. Chakra is an incredible power system, versatile, adaptable, capable of remarkable feats. But it operates on principles that are fundamentally mortal. Against beings who wield divine or demonic energy, chakra alone will struggle. Elder Hamura leaned forward. Which is why you're training the Nine-Tails Jinchuriki in divine techniques. To create a bridge between our power and theirs. Naruto is uniquely positioned to learn these techniques, Kushina confirmed. His Uzumaki heritage contains trace divine elements. His connection to the Nine-Tails gives him massive energy reserves and cellular modifications that allow him to withstand divine ki exposure. And his mental fortitude, his unbreakable will, provides the psychological foundation that Ultra Instinct requires. But he's just one person, Koharu pointed out. Even if he masters these divine techniques, what happens when multiple threats arrive simultaneously? Or when threats appear in different villages? The question hung in the air, heavy with implication. That's why we need to expand the training, Tsunade said. Kushina has identified several other shinobi with the potential to learn divine ki manipulation, even if they can't achieve Ultra Instinct itself. Hinata Hyuga, for one, her Byakugan can perceive divine energy, which is the first step toward learning to manipulate it. Hayashi's expression became complicated. You want to use my daughter as a test subject for untested divine techniques? I want to give her the tools to survive what's coming, Kushina said gently. Hayashi, I've seen the futures. The possible outcomes if Earth faces this threat unprepared. In most of them, the Hyuga clan is wiped out in the first wave of attacks. Demons prize the Byakugan specifically because it can perceive dimensional rifts. Your entire clan becomes a target. The clan head's face paled slightly. And if we train our people in divine ki, then they have a fighting chance. Divine ki can't be stolen or copied like chakra. It has to be earned through training and mental discipline. A Hyuga who masters even basic divine ki manipulation becomes exponentially harder to kill. I'll need to discuss this with my clan council, Hayashi said carefully. But I won't dismiss it out of hand. Shikaka cleared his throat. Setting aside individual training for a moment, we need to address the larger strategic question. If demons can appear anywhere at any time, our current defensive posture is inadequate. We need new protocols. I've been working on that, Tsunade said, pulling out a scroll covered in intricate seal work. Kushina helped me modify some of the Uzumaki clan's barrier techniques to detect divine and demonic ki in addition to chakra. We can establish a network of these sensors around the village. They'll give us early warning when dimensional travelers enter our space. Detection is good, Shikaku acknowledged. But what about response? Current ANBU protocols are built around fighting rogue ninja, not interdimensional demons. We need specialized teams, agreed. I'm proposing the formation of a new division, the Dimensional Response Unit. Small teams trained specifically to engage supernatural threats. Naruto will lead once his training is complete, but we'll need others. I volunteer Team Guy, came a voice from the doorway. Everyone turned to see Might Guy standing there, his usual exuberance tempered by unusual seriousness. My team encountered those demons yesterday. Lee is still recovering from his injuries. If there's training available that could prevent that from happening again, we want it. Kushina studied Guy with interest. Your taijutsu style is actually well suited for divine ki enhancement. The 8 gates technique already pushes your body beyond normal human limits. Adding divine ki could amplify those effects significantly. Then teach us, Guy said simply. We'll do whatever training is required. Tsunade nodded. Team Guy will be the first test group. Kushina will assess their potential and begin basic divine ki training. Depending on the results, we'll expand to other teams. What about the other villages? Hamura asked. Do they know about any of this? Not yet, Tsunade admitted. But they will soon. Yesterday's incident won't be the last. When demons start appearing in the sand, the mist, the cloud, and they will, those villages will need answers. I'm proposing a 5 Kage summit to discuss this threat collectively. The other Kages will never believe it without proof, Kohara pointed out. Then we'll provide proof. Kushina's expression became grim. The next demon incursion is inevitable. When it happens, we document everything. And then we show the other villages what they're up against. The meeting continued for another 2 hours, covering logistics, training protocols, contingency plans. By the end, a framework had emerged. Konoha would become the first line of defense against dimensional threats, with specialized units trained in both chakra and divine ki techniques. The information would be carefully controlled but not completely hidden. The truth would spread gradually, allowing people to adjust. As the council dispersed, Tsunade gestured for Kushina to remain. Once they were alone, the Hokage poured 2 cups of sake and slid one across the table. I need to know something, Tsunade said quietly. All of this, the training, the warnings, the preparation. Is it enough? When these threats come in force, do we actually have a chance? Kushina took the cup but didn't drink. Honest answer? I don't know. The future isn't fixed, Tsunade. Every choice we make creates new possibilities, new timelines. In some futures, Earth stands strong and becomes a beacon of mortal achievement that even gods respect. In others, she trailed off. In others, we fall, yes. But the difference between those outcomes isn't power, it's unity. The timelines where Earth survives are the ones where people work together, where old grudges are set aside in favor of collective survival. That's why the 5 Kage summit is crucial. If the villages fracture, fight among themselves while demons gather at the gates, we're doomed, Tsunade finished. She downed her sake in one gulp. No pressure then, you've handled worse. You helped save the world from Madara Uchiha. This is just a slightly bigger world. Despite everything, Tsunade laughed. You know, I can see where Naruto gets his optimism from. It's genetic. Meanwhile, across the village, Naruto was dealing with a different kind of pressure. Explain it again, Sakura demanded. She cornered him at Ichiraku Ramen, and her expression said she wouldn't accept evasion this time. The demons, your mother being an angel, this ultra instinct technique, all of it. From the beginning, Naruto glanced at Kakashi, who'd accompanied Sakura and now looked mildly amused at his predicament. Sensei, the Hokage authorized limited disclosure to active duty ninja, Kakashi said. Sakura has clearance. So does Sasuke, whenever he decides to return. The mention of Sasuke created a momentary silence. The Uchiha's absence was a wound that still hadn't healed. Fine, Naruto said, setting down his ramen bowl. You know how I told you the Uzumaki clan had unusual chakra? Turns out that's because one of our ancestors thousands of years ago was part divine, like actually part god. That's impossible, Sakura said automatically, then stopped herself. Actually, after yesterday, I'm not sure what's impossible anymore. Continue. Naruto explained everything. His mother's death and rebirth as an angel in training, the existence of the multiverse, the weakening barriers between dimensions, and his training in ultra instinct. Sakura listened with growing incredulity and, to her credit, didn't interrupt once. When he finished, she sat in stunned silence for a long moment. So you're learning to fight like a god. More like learning to survive against things that fight like gods, Naruto corrected. There's a difference. I'm still mortal, still human. I'm just learning to push the boundaries of what human means. And the silver eyes? When you fought yesterday? That's ultra instinct sign, the first stage. My body moves independently of conscious thought. It's like... He struggled for the right words, like, my body becomes its own separate entity that knows how to fight perfectly. My conscious mind just observes while my instincts handle everything. Sakura's analytical mind was already racing. The medical implications are fascinating. If your body is reacting faster than neural signals can travel, you're essentially bypassing the central nervous system. But that should be impossible. Muscle contractions require nerve impulses. Divine Ki doesn't follow normal rules, Kakashi interjected. From what Kushina explained, it operates on a different fundamental level than chakra. Think of chakra as the language of mortal energy, and Divine Ki as the language of creation itself. They're not incompatible, just difficult to translate between, which is why mixing them hurts you, Sakura concluded, looking at Naruto with concern. Your body is trying to speak two languages simultaneously, and the grammatical structures conflict. That's actually a pretty good analogy, Naruto admitted. Mom says eventually if I train enough, I'll be able to generate divine ki that's strong enough to fight with on its own. Then I won't need to mix it with chakra at all. How long will that take? Best case? 6 months to a year. Worst case? Naruto shrugged. Maybe never. There's no precedent for this. I'm the first mortal in this universe to attempt ultra instinct. Sakura was quiet for another moment, then said something that surprised him. I want to help. I can't learn ultra instinct. I don't have divine heritage or massive chakra reserves. But medical ninjutsu is about understanding the body at its most fundamental level. Maybe I can figure out ways to reduce the strain, to help your body adapt faster. Sakura-chan, don't argue, she said firmly. You're my teammate and my friend. If you're preparing to fight demons and gods, then I'm preparing to keep you alive through it. That's what medics do. Naruto felt warmth bloom in his chest. Thanks. Kakashi stood, his visible eye crinkling with approval. Well, this has been enlightening. Sakura, the Hokage wants to see you about joining the Dimensional Response Unit's medical division. Naruto, you have the night off from missions. Kushina said she has something special planned for your training. As his teacher and teammate left, Naruto finished his ramen slowly, thinking about what Kushina had said. The trial of empty mind. 24 hours in a dimension where thought itself became a weakness. He was nervous, he realized. More nervous than he'd been before facing pain, or Obito, or any of the other deadly opponents in his past. Those had been physical threats, difficult but comprehensible. This was different. This was asking him to fundamentally change how he experienced existence. You're scared, Kurama observed. Wouldn't you be? Terrified. What your mother is proposing, it goes against every survival instinct. Conscious thought is what separates sapient beings from animals. To willingly suppress that, even temporarily, feels like giving up your humanity. But that's not what Ultra Instinct is, Naruto protested. At least I don't think it is. My conscious mind doesn't disappear, it just steps back. Lets my body do what it was trained to do without interference. Theory versus practice, Kit. In theory, it's a beautiful technique. In practice, you're about to spend 24 hours in a dimension specifically designed to punish conscious thought. What happens if you can't maintain that separation? What if your mind cracks under the pressure? Then Mom will pull me out. She won't let me die. No, but she might let you suffer. That's what training is. Controlled suffering that makes you stronger. The question is whether you're ready for that level of pain. Naruto paid for his ramen and walked through the village, observing people going about their daily lives. Children played in the streets. Merchants hawked their wares. Ninja trained in open courtyards. Normal life, continuing despite the dimensional threats gathering beyond sight. This was what he was training to protect. Not just the village's survival, but its ability to remain normal, to continue growing and living without fear of demons dropping from the sky. He found himself at the memorial stone again, reading his parents' names. Minato Namikaze and Kushina Uzumaki. Both had died protecting this village, protecting him. His mother had given up her peaceful rest to train him, to prepare him for threats his father never could have imagined. He wouldn't let that sacrifice be meaningless. As sunset painted the sky in brilliant oranges and reds, Kushina appeared beside him. She didn't speak immediately, just stood next to her son, looking at her own name carved in stone. Strange, isn't it? She finally said. To see your own grave. Most people don't get that experience. Do you regret it? Choosing to become an angel instead of resting? Not for a second. Kushina turned to him, and her expression was fierce with love. Naruto, becoming an angel means I'll never truly rest. I'll serve for eternity, watching over universes, intervening in cosmic affairs. But it also means I got to see you again. Got to train you, teach you, be your mother even if only for a little while. That's worth any price. I'll make you proud, Naruto promised. I'll master Ultra Instinct and protect this world. You already make me proud. Every single day. She placed her hand over his heart. Now are you ready? The trial of empty mind isn't mandatory. If you're not ready, we can wait. I'm ready, Naruto interrupted. Let's do this. Kushina studied his face for a long moment, then nodded. Very well. But first, I need to explain what you'll face. This trial isn't about fighting or dodging. It's about existing. Existing? In the dimension I'm taking you to, conscious thought creates physical pain. The more you think, the more you suffer. It's designed to force the mind into absolute emptiness. Not meditation, not relaxation, but true emptiness where the self dissolves into pure awareness. That sounds impossible. It is impossible for most beings. Even angels struggle with this trial, and many fail on their first attempt. Kushina's expression softened. Naruto, if at any point you need to stop, just call for me. I'll be watching from outside the dimension. Your safety is more important than any trial. I understand. Let's go. Kushina took his hand, and reality dissolved. They materialized in a space that defied description. It wasn't empty. Emptiness implied the absence of something. This place was less than empty. It was void made manifest, a conceptual nothing that hurt to perceive. This is the dimension of silence, Kushina explained, and her voice sounded muted, as if the space itself absorbed sound. For the next 24 hours, time flows normally here. You will exist in this space. The only rule is this: conscious thought creates pain proportional to its complexity. Simple observations cause mild discomfort. Active analysis causes agony. Planning, worrying, remembering. These will feel like knives in your mind. How do I survive without thinking? By becoming thought instead of thinking. By existing as pure awareness without self-reflection. Kushina hugged him tightly. I believe in you, Naruto. Remember, you're not trying to endure this. You're trying to dissolve into it. She faded away, and Naruto was alone. For the first few seconds, everything was fine. The void wasn't pleasant, but it wasn't painful either. He observed his surroundings, the infinite nothing stretching in all directions, with mild curiosity. Then he thought, this isn't so bad. Pain lanced through his skull like lightning. Naruto gasped, falling to his knees. Were there knees? Was there ground? The space made such concepts uncertain. The pain faded as quickly as it came, leaving him gasping. Okay, he thought, don't think about more pain. Worse this time. He'd formed a more complex thought, and the dimension punished him accordingly. Naruto forced his mind to quiet, focusing only on breathing. In, out, in, out. The pain receded, leaving only the uncomfortable sensation of existing in this void. But breathing was an action, and actions implied intention, and intention required thought. He found himself trapped in a paradox. He needed to breathe, but being aware of his breathing was a thought, and thoughts caused pain. The hours began to blur together. Pain. Respite. Pain. Respite. Every time his mind wandered, every time he tried to analyze his situation or plan a strategy, pain. Sharp and immediate, like touching a hot stove with his brain. He tried meditation techniques Jiraiya had taught him. Pain. He tried focusing on a single point. Pain. He tried counting his breaths. Agony. Everything he'd learned, every mental discipline he developed, all of it required thought, and thought was poison here. How long had passed? Minutes? Hours? The void made time meaningless. Naruto found himself curled in a ball. Was he in a ball? He wasn't sure anymore, experiencing existence as a series of sensations without labels. There was awareness. He knew he existed. But the moment he thought I exist, pain flared. He was being taught a cruel lesson. The self is an illusion maintained